I'm going to have to get the floor jack because I don't believe the transmission jack, your joke here, it's not made for Volkswagens, is going to fit up in between here. Welcome back to the community, everybody, and thank you all for being part of it. And thank you for the donations that have been sent in lately. I really appreciate that. It helps with the DIY videos. Today, we're putting the transmission back in the car. It's been all cleaned up, painted, new axle boots, and so on. If you've been following the videos, this is a Swingaxle, not an IRS, but the IRS isn't much different from actually mounting it itself. So I hope that makes sense to you. So let's get our parts together and get ready and get it done. All right, so I started last night with painting a lot of these parts. You want it to look nice, I guess. I don't know. Nobody ever sees this stuff, but you folks do on film, so I keep a lot of mechanics wire hanging from the ceiling so I can paint stuff while it's hanging, if that makes sense. Let's check these parts out. So I went ahead and wire wheeled and cleaned these up. Some of the parts for the Z-bar snubs, we'll go ahead and get them ready. I lost one of these. Can you believe that? I don't know where it went, but I lost one. I'll find it. But everything's pretty much ready. I'm going to switch the jacks out. I'm going to have to get the floor jack because I don't believe the transmission jack, your joke here, it's not made for Volkswagens, is going to fit up in between here to get the transmission high enough. So, I was hoping it would, but it won't. Oh well. It'll be good for the engine. All right, so we are under the car, and stuff gets dirty quick. Don't forget to replace this boot while you're at it, okay? That's where your clutch cable and throttle cable go into, or I should say come out of. And everything hooks up there. So don't forget about that because it's not fun to do when the transmission's in. So what we're going to do first is put our mount on. Now, this mount for the transmission, do you see this lip that goes around there? That faces the bottom. If you put it on this way where the lip's up top, it's not going to work. So lip down the bottom. And a good idea is to always clean your threads up with a little brass brush or something, and that way everything goes together easily. So we're going to go ahead and put this on. How's it fighting with me already? Oh, the rubber here. It's fighting a little bit to squeeze into the hole. There we go. And I'm going to put a flat washer on. I actually had gotten some flat washers. Let me bring you in close to fit inside that recess. So I went through quite a few washers in my little box before I found them, but I wanted them to recess in there. And we'll put our wavy washers on, and I always wire wheel the nuts and clean the threads up. Just makes everything go together much smoother. Kind of an awkward position for filming, isn't it? Okay, let me reposition here. Tighten these up, hold your ears. Come on, get off here. Whoop. Trying to work behind the camera gets a little testy. Okay. Look up your torque specs on it. Make sure that you have your flat washer recessed in and your wavy washer, okay? So that's ready. Your boot is on. Make sure. And then you're going to have, I'll show you the seal that goes in there, because you don't want no crap getting inside of your tunnel, inside of the chassis anywhere. So you want to make sure that stuff is sealed off. And something I almost forgot is to get the right socket. I need to put the ground strap on the transaxle. I just seen it laying on the workbench. I cleaned it up. I didn't buy a new one, so it's fine. I cleaned it all up. It's not all shredded, so it will work. You want to make sure you ground that. There we go. That'll be ready to go in. And don't forget to put a new seal on. Whoops, put it on the right way. There we go. That'll seal up against the tunnel. All right, let me pop my shifter off. It's not the one that's going back on, so. Make sure you always put your plate in the proper way. I'm going to pull that forward. There we go. Doesn't have to be much. The shaft from the transmission is going to come through here. So you want your coupler out of the way. It's back in here so it doesn't hit, or you wonder why you're struggling. So I pushed out forward a little bit. All right, let me take my bolts out. I actually had pulled, I call it the cross member. I pulled it off because I wanted to get these bolts out of here. And I cleaned the threads up real nice, wire wheeled everything. You want everything to be smooth. Now, if you'd like to, in case you run into issues, I imagine there would not be a problem with putting anti-seize on these bolts, but you do what you think is right. Alrighty. They are all cleaned up. These I have are 27 millimeter. Now, something that I did forget to bring up here, because I'm not actually going to use it, on the photo there that you see pointed to that switch that has two male prongs on it, that is your reverse switch. So you need to plug those wires in before you slide the transmission the whole way in. It'll make it a little bit easier. I'm not using that switch. I'm using a different type of a setup that I have, so make sure to do that. So what we are going to do now is put our mounts on right there. Come on. Jeez. There we go. A little stubborn. Looks like they got some paint in the threads. They do. Okay. Either way, I am going to put, now you have your wavy washers and your 13 millimeter nuts. I am going to put blue Loctite on. Now I know the tube is red, but see what that says there? Blue. You don't have to do this. It's entirely up to you to squirt it all over the place like I just did. Didn't think it was going to come out that easy. Let me try again. I just like to put it on here all over the place. Okay, no big deal. Let me wipe that up inside of there. There we go. Just in case, you never know. I don't need these to come loose. So I am going to Loctite them, and we should be good to go then. Remember, they are 13 millimeter. And we are going to torque them to 14 foot-pound. I am giving you the torque on them so you do it properly. Isn't this cool for a swing axle? We have a collar in the new style drop bearing. I'm really happy about that. Very happy to upgrade when we can. The torque wrench is set at 14. Of course, the transmission's going to move on the jack. No click yet. There we go. And the Loctite will hold them in place. All right, let me zip the other one on. Now remember, it's up to you if you want to use the Loctite. Because I know somebody is going to wail and moan and cry and complain. You don't need to do that. Okay, let me put a little bit on there. Stuff's really thin. All right, zip these on. Don't go cranking these real hard, because if you do, these studs are going to come up too far and then they're going to hit. So that's why I gave the torque out on these, so that you know exactly what to do so that don't happen. I think the blue Loctite gives a little added protection from you going down the road and going, what is that noise? Alrighty, back to our 14 foot-pound. Trying to do them a little evenly. All right. Okay. Now I have an arrow pointed to that clamp. Make sure to leave that loose until you adjust the axle tube to where you need it to be. Then after that, do not forget to tighten it back up or you will have oil leaks. Now I am quite sure most of you know this, but it's okay because there are new folks here. That shaft goes in that hole. Now, I know some of you think, well, that was a stupid thing to say. Remember, there's new folks all the time. So when you go down and you see them two holes, that's going to line up with those two studs. All right, so you're not going to be able to get under here with me this moment, but I'm going to slide the transmission in, and then I'll show you how it went into there. I have a GoPro under the car. I don't know what all it's going to see. Oh, I don't like this part because everything flops around on the jack. That's how it ends up. That's why I wanted to use the transmission jack, but it couldn't. It's too wide to get up in the frame. So you got to get it up through here. I even have my crossmember ready to put into place. So let's push this in a little bit. These bars here hit sometimes, and that's what they're doing right now. Let me see where I'm at underneath. Oh, I gotta come down. Okay. This is the pain in the butt part. These bars here hit sometimes. That's what they're doing right now. There we go. Alright, I'm gonna let it down a hair. Let me see where I'm at underneath. Alright, I just snuck inside of the car. And as you can see, The nose cone came through, I should say the snout to it. You can see the seal is sealed up against it because you don't want stuff getting inside your tunnel. Now, we are underneath the car, as promised. You can see how that slid right onto the studs. A little bit of muscling, but nothing horrible. So either transaxle you have is going to pretty much bolt up the same way. So there you have it there. All right, so I didn't put the nuts on back there yet, but I would like to go ahead and put my cradle in here. Okay, I'm trying to make sure. Oh crap, I forgot the bolts. Don't be a dum-dum or an idiot. Okay, I'm going to tell you something a minute. Yeah, I know. Here we go. These bolts, this is not a game. Do not cross-thread these. You will hate your life after that. These bolts have a special shoulder, so you are not running to Ace Hardware and getting this specific bolt, okay? And furthermore, if you strip these threads out, you are not going to be happy. I squirted some brake clean in there, and I cleaned them up, and I got a little brass brush and ran it around there. And also, a friend of mine about 4 or 5 years ago had stripped one of these out. The tap for it was like $60. So you don't want to strip these out. Make sure, take your time, just like that, real easy-handed, and you can see how smooth mine are. All right. Make sure you do not cross-thread them. Here's the big, big, big wavy washer. So, all right, enough about that. Just use finger and thumb. Just kind of let it start on its own. There you go, just like that. Other bolt and wavy washer. Start this one in. I like to turn them in like 7, 8, 9 turns by hand before putting a gun or anything on them. That way you know the deal. There we go. They're in far enough now to use that. Try to do it a little equal. Other one. Okay. That was a 27 millimeter. 27 millimeter is what you need for that. But wait. Probably can't see that, but it's 1 1/16". And that fits also. But I try to stay with the metric just so it doesn't round it off with a 12 point or something stupid. Okay. Now, these bolts here go to 166 foot-pounds. Some of you aren't going to have one to go that steep. So go as high as you can with it and then guesstimate after that. That's all I can tell you if your torque wrench don't go that far. Alrighty, so we are going to go ahead and torque this to 166 foot-pounds, although I have it set at 165. Hopefully I don't throw the car off the jack stands. Oh. Well, that wasn't very much fun. Okay, let me squeeze in here. And I got to try to line up the holes for here. Actually, let me get the jack out of the way. Hopefully I'm not in your way. Okay. Trying to make sure these are lined up. I'll move my head, give me a second. You want to, it was lined up. Come on. There we go. Almost got to wind it in. It's hitting that slightly. And we got to put our lock washer on there. It's a wavy washer. And our nut. Guess what I did? I left my wrench over on the workbench. Give me a second. Oh, dang it. You gotta almost move these around a little bit to get them lined up. There we go. You're not going to be able to see too much of this, but you know how nuts and bolts work. So, wavy washer and a nut. Oop. Okay, I didn't tighten those up yet. Let's come to this side. I always put a screwdriver through here to kind of get it lined up. There we go. A little wavy washer. These nuts are not easy to get on, so I'll be in your way for 1 second there. Come on. Let me get that started a little more than it is. There we go. Not too much. Till we get the other one in there. Wavy washer. It's tough to get in some of these spots, especially with camera. There we go. It's 13 millimeter. Come on. Drop your wrench once. I'm probably in front of the camera. This is tough in here. Okay. This side. Okay. Those are tight. Okay, so those are 14 foot-pounds. I got to check the specs on them. Just do your homework. Tighten them nuts and bolts up. Make sure those are at 166 foot-pounds. Now we're going to go ahead and slide underneath the car and get it mounted up to the front mount with our ground strap. Okay, so we are under the car, and here is your mount. Now remember, we have got to mount the tranny to the mount. As soon as I tighten them up a little bit, just snug them lightly, I'm going to remove this bolt, and that's where the transmission ground strap goes. So let's get these started first. These aren't just an ordinary nut that go on there. These are kind of thin-walled, so you can actually get a wrench in there. Somewhat. It don't leave you a lot of room, but a little. Let me get that started. Excuse the hand. Don't forget your wavy washer. I don't think I can get the box end on this one. Oh, I can get it on both. As I said, you can't just put any nut on her, so don't lose your nuts or set them aside without marking them. Okay, for right now, I just want them to about there. It would have probably made sense to go ahead and put this on when I did the mount and then just bolted that to the transmission. But I didn't do that, so zip this off. Oh, ain't gonna fit in there with the extension. Nope, can't fit in there. Well, this isn't gonna be fun. All right, I'll speed up the film here and put some music on. Relax. Alrighty, so we have our Bolts and nuts ready. For lock washers, flat washer for one. Can't remember which one flat washer went on. Now this one is a little bit taller than the other two, and I'll show you why. And I believe that's where that goes. Okay, so this isn't the fun part. I'm going to, now this is for the Z-bar. I did decide I'm not running a camber compensator. I'm going to run a Z-bar, and I'm going to show you how to shim it up properly to take the slop out. So that goes right here on these bolts. But I'm going to put one in here and start to pull it together a little bit, because this is a pain in the butt. So I'm going to take that, a lock washer, and a nut. See if I can pull this together a little bit. Oh yeah, that helped. Okay, looks lined up too. Let me see. Yep. Wow, I got lucky on that one. I won't get that lucky on the other side. Okay, that is going to go right there. But we also got to put this on, our little snubber. Oh, let me get my fat head in here a minute. Okay, I tightened that too much because now I can't get down in between there with the snubber. That's what I call it. A snubber. There we go. So, all right, I sent the bolt in. Ah, crap. Let me take the bolt back out. The longer one goes in here because it's holding all them together. What a flat washer. I'm going to put this in here, and then I can flip it around if I choose to. Okay. Okay, just wanted to pull that together a little bit. This is not lined up at all. These are a pain. They really are. All right, let me try to see if that'll work. Having a hard time getting the last one lined up. It's this piece that won't line up. But I don't want to take it off back here or it'll spring. All right, let me try to pull this together. Okay. All right, check something here. All right, I hit the pause button and I took it back apart. When I'm done, I'll show you why. I'll bring the camera up close. This bracket was on the wrong side of this bracket, but I'll show you what I mean. So let me get the bolts back in. These are, when you're working with 3 different pieces that got to line up, then it can be a little bit of a bummer. So let me get this on. And remember, your longer bolt goes on this because you're going through this, 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 this. So it takes a little bit of messing around. And let's see if I'm lucky enough now to get this through here almost. All right, let's see if I can pull it together now. Hopefully. There we go. Sorry, I'm probably in your way again. And it's kind of a test run to see if it's all together. Okay, all right, I'll take this one first, get the lock washer on it. So I used the bolt and nuts to pull everything together, and then one by one I went ahead and removed each nut and put the lock washer on. Do not forget to use the lock washers, and I believe the torque is 77 foot-pounds on these. You'd have to double check, and that fixed that up. All right, let me show you here. See how that's flush now? If you are going to run your Z-bar, some people run a camber compensator. I'm not going to. I'll explain why in a moment. But when you're putting this on, this plate right here goes up against the arm. The Z-bar goes on the outside of it, so this sits flush against here, okay? And it also goes on the outside here. All right, I hope that makes sense to you. It should. I'll take a bunch of pictures before I'm done, but we're going to go to the other side and we're going to go ahead and time lapse that side. Now the reason I'm showing these photos is I promised to show a close-up so you could see the orientation of the way that the brackets go together and the way they seat on each other. All right, now, like I said, take your time when you're doing this stuff because these 3 bolts, there's a lot of tension on your arm. So you're going to have to get a very, very chubby screwdriver or a rod through here to line everything up. When you're working with the Z-bar bracket and your snubber is what I call it, I make my own words up. You're working with 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that have to line up on 2 of the bolts. So it's not exciting and fun to do. I'm going to time lapse the other side real quick so you don't have to watch me do the same thing over, but I will show you I'm doing it. I'll time lapse it with some music, and then we're going to come back and we're put the shock absorbers on, and then we're going to go over the rest of the stuff. Okay, I started messing with this, line it up. I'm going to time lapse this side, okay? And then we'll go ahead and put the shock absorbers on, and I'm going to go over Z-bar, brake lines, and a couple other things on our bearings we're going to do. Hang tight, listen to the music. All right, now you're going to torque these to the proper spec, and we're going to go ahead and put the shocks on, and we're going to go over a couple of things you need to know. Well, I took a break and I ate pizza, just in case you needed to know. And I've got oil-filled well, I'm not happy right now because I legitimately thought I had my rear shocks. These are for the front. So now I got an extra pair of front shocks because the beam in the box came with shocks installed. Okay, well, I guess you don't need to see a shock absorber installed, but we're going to go over a couple of things. I could have swore I had the rear shocks. I'll order a set. We want to get this done. Let's go over some crap. All right, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. If not, I'll show you when I'm done. But I want to put the Bowden tube on. So I got to get inside here. I'm trying to reach from the bottom. Okay. And the Bowden tube is on. I'm going to also put my fuel filter on here, the bracket, but I won't do that today and bore everybody. But should be good now. Okay. I'm really bummed out. I could have swore I bought the rear shocks, but I guess it happens. Okay. Now, once we put the clutch through and up to the top, we'll know if we need to mess with this at all, but it should be okay. Alrighty. Well, one thing is for sure, now that I'm out from under the car and I'm looking at it, it doesn't have enough bend to it. So I'm probably going to have to add some washers, and I need to make sure that it's the proper Bowden tube. Evan had given me it. I don't know how many different sizes they make. I cannot remember. But either way, I'll make it right. If in fact it takes a different one, I'll get it. And if that one just needs shimmed, I'll do that. Now, next week, what I'm going to do is do the bearings and hook up the brakes. So I'm going to have to put the hose in there and clamp it, run a brake line to the drum, and pretty much put the bearings on the back, the backing plates, and I'll have the rear shocks by then, and we'll button up the back end. Getting there, getting there, getting there. That I gotta tell you was an awkward video to try to get the camera under the car. So I did the best that I could. I can't believe now I have two sets of front shocks. So I don't know if somebody sent me the wrong ones or what. I don't remember because it was a couple years ago I started gathering parts. So I am going to order gas shocks for the back. I'll go over that in the next video because I'll be putting them on the braking system and the bearings. That way the back is complete and done. I want to get the wheels on the car and get it on the ground. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate all you very much. I'll see you Sunday night in a live chat at 9 p.m. Eastern. Everybody, have a safe weekend. Watch your backs.